Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to people who are coming for the first time to Antwox Academy Masterclass. We have a very interesting session today by from Bhavya. Let's just give a couple of minutes for folks to join in. Bhavya, are you able to hear me? Is everything? Are you set from your side?
Hey Shriram, hi. Yes, everything is set from my side.
Okay, so
Good
I
evening,
will.
ma'am.
Good
Good,
evening.
good evening, Arnoor. Uh, So I will just pass on the screen share to you then, and then let's just give a couple of minutes for folks to join, and we'll get started. Huh?
Sure. Yeah.
Right, all yours.
1 second. Is my video visible,
Yes,
Shriram?
yes, yes.
Perfect. I don't have the screen with me here.
So you should see a uh, on the top. You will see a share screen option,
Mhm.
or on the bottom, depends on.
Yes. All done. Should we start right away or?
Okay, let's get started. All right. Welcome everybody once again to Antwox Masterclass. We have a very interesting session on digital marketing today. The topic of the day is don't sell products but sell stories. And uh, and the speaker for the session today is Bhavya Pathak. She's a product marketing manager at Color Tokens and also a graduate from ISB MBA program. So without further ado, I will pass on the baton to her. Welcome, Bhavya. Thanks for the time and taking the effort to come and give us some of the insights to aspiring digital marketers on today's session. Uh, just one request from folks on the session today. If you have any questions, please do post it on the chat box. We will try and pick up some of the questions at the end of the session. And I also request everybody to stay on mute during the session for the convenience of everybody else on the session. Thank you. Over to you, Bhavya.
Thanks, Shriram, for setting the stage, and thanks everyone for joining. Before we move ahead with the agenda, I'll just take a few minutes to introduce myself. So I'm Bhavya, your presenter for the day. I am a product marketing manager at Color Tokens, which is a Silicon Valley-based startup that offers cybersecurity solutions to global enterprises. Apart from that, I've done my MBA, like Shriram mentioned already, from ISB with a specialization in marketing, strategy, and leadership. Uh, Apart from my MBA, apart from my career profile, I'm an avid digital marketer. That is needless to say. I'm also an avid photographer. Storytelling is something that comes naturally to me, and whatever I do with my interaction with folks, I try to bring that knowledge back into marketing. So I will not beat around the bush now, and I'll move ahead with the agenda of today. And also, thank you so much for joining today. I think it's commendable for people to take out time on a Friday evening. On any normal day, I know that we would have been out there setting the world on fire, but today we are here. So a little bit of learning never harmed anyone. So let's get ahead with the agenda of today's session. And 1 second. Yes. So today we will be covering four different aspects of digital marketing and storytelling, starting with the need for storytelling in digital marketing and what is the science that goes behind it. To be followed by frameworks, best practices that helps you grow your brand. There are a lot of frameworks out there, but we today will be focusing only on two frameworks, that is JTBD Triple E. Then we will see how you can use your content that your teams create or you create for your company to build an effective content marketing funnel. We will also throw some light and we will help you learn what is purpose driven branding and what are the KPIs that you can track to see if your content is on mark or not. Finally, we will see what are the different facets of digital marketing and who all, what are the different team members of a digital marketing team that helps in creating brand stories and further dispense it. So let's get started. And I know a lot of you are here, so I'm pretty sure that you must be interested in digital marketing and, of course, in storytelling. But the first question first, that is why storytelling? So why do we need stories out there? needless to say that the market is saturated. There's so many products, there's so many companies out there. You may think that your idea is unique, your idea is something different, or you must have gotten everything on, in place. But the fact is there are so many products out there, and Google has Google's search history has almost 4 million search queries in a minute. So that actually tells that a lot of people are searching for a lot of solutions. And even something that is super amplified is how many people are answering to those search queries. So if you look into the data sets, you will see these many blog posts, these many content pieces, hours of YouTube videos, tweets, and Instagram photos out there. These are the number of posts that is made every minute to answer 4 million search queries. So the market is saturated, and to grab the attention of your audience, you need something that just not talks about your products, but rather talks about or brings out a different aspect of your brand, right? So I think a lot of us a lot of us must be familiar with what Cred has done recently, right? So something that a lot of people don't know, that Cred started in 2018. And this is what exactly they used to tell to their audience. An audience means people who use credit card. They used to tell that, okay, we are the most rewarding credit card payment. And yes, a lot of people use their applications, and they happen to be people who were credit card users back then. But in 2020 and 2021, what they did was coming up with interesting advertisements. Of course, they brought AIB and other, leaders in making great stories into the picture. But they ended up preparing amazing stories, and that led to 8x increase in their daily signups. Now, this is the kind of number that companies normally see in, say, 2 or 3 quarters. But Cred noticed this in just one single day. And this is not just about Cred and being talked about by credit card users. A lot of other brands also leveraged on this point. Zomato, Razorpay, SBI, they use the Indranagar ka Gunda Dravid story to bring out their own content out there. And what was created was actually a phenomena out there. It's not just the credit card users talking about Cred, it's everyone who's talking about Cred. So you may not be a credit card user currently, might be in 6 to 7 years, but Cred will always be at the top of your mind. This is the power of storytelling. Recently, a very interesting ad of Volvo has caught my attention. And I think I would really love it if you also watch it in today's session. It's going to take only 2 minutes of your time, but you will understand what an effective story can do to your brand, your products, and to your company. So I'll share the screen, and let me know if you're able to hear the audio. Sriram, I'm going to share the screen. One second. Can you see it?
No, not yet. We are seeing your slides at this point.
Okay. 1 second. Okay, now can you see the screen?
Yeah. So now the PPT is not in the presentation mode, but we still see your PPT.
You still see my PPT. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this PPT, and I would share the other screen. One second. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Awesome. So this is a very famous ad of Volvo that has recently, been talked about. So I'm going to play. Let me know if you can hear the audio.
Hey.
Yeah.
And I'm here at Volvo to find out what's the ultimate safety test. Look at this. Volvo cared about safety long before others. Do they do it today? Lipstick is not for looks. This is how they identify the airbag contact. These are the side and frontal crash tests. They're brutal. Yep, seems fine. This one is my favorite. Run-off road test. Impressive, right? But is it the ultimate safety test? Me and Erika are heading up north to find out. Let's go. this is the big one, the 100-foot drop. So, is this the ultimate safety test? Well, it depends. When you
Awesome. I hope everyone was watching the video,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna share the screen again and start with my presentation. One second. All right. So now that you have watched the video of Volvo, we are gonna run a small poll, and it would be interesting if you could participate in this.
Yep, guys, you will see a poll popping up just about now. Just take a few seconds to give your answers. Here you go. After watching this ad, would you be motivated to consider all-electric mobiles now or in the future? All right, guys, last few seconds. I have at least 20 more people to take their vote. Let's get this done. All right, I'm going to stop the poll now. Bhavya, let's see the answers.
Yes, Shriram. Okay, so interestingly, 57 of the people are interested. 41% people are maybe, at least you are familiar with what Volvo is doing now, and 1% says no. Okay, so I would want to bring your attention to something. So Volvo earlier never had electric cars in the league, right? Tesla was always famous for it, and we have been talking, raving about Tesla, Elon Musk, and about its cars for being the leader in the electric category. Now, Volvo coming into this category, it did not start comparing itself directly with Tesla. It did not even talk about its car's features. What it did, it talked about a phenomena and why you, as a person or as a user, should be concerned about it. So this, by doing this, what Volvo tried to do is expand the segment, expand the number of people who would be interested in Volvo's car later on when you buy it, right? So this was Volvo's approach towards creating an effective story. And whenever you try to consider electric cars, I'm pretty sure it's not just Tesla now. You will also be interested in buying Volvo cars, right? So now let's move ahead and see what exactly, why are so many marketers, digital marketers and leaders talking about storytelling? What exactly happens? So what is the science behind it? Now, what neurologists and marketing leaders call it is long-term memory encoding. What exactly happens is when you see or hear a story, a kind of, when you see the climax, when you see a different kind of, different facets of the story, you as a viewer or listener relate to it, relate to a lot of things that's happening in the story. Even with cred, when you know that, you saw Dravid, you saw a lot of other cricketers, you saw Kumar Sanu. So they know that their target audience is Indian diaspora, and they are interested with these people, with these celebrities. They did not bring Christian Bale or say some other celebrity into the picture. So you kind of build a story, you connect the dots, and when you reach to a point where the climax has reached, that is where long-term memory encoding peaks in. And what branding leaders and what marketing leaders call it as a perfect marketing moment. It is exactly at that second or minute when you show your brand's image, when you talk about your product, it just stays in the mind of your viewers. So leveraging on this long-term memory encoding, the science behind the storytelling, a lot of marketers are coming up with interesting stories. So this is the science behind it. And you know that, the last point, if you see the fifth, I think that should be third point, but 65% of human interactions that take place between you and your friends, between your colleagues in the office, between your family members, relatives, it's always in the form of stories. So what happened with cred, what happened with, even with fresh desk or any particular startup that becomes unicorn, we talk about it, we share. So ultimately, organically, we become brand ambassadors of certain brands. So this is the science behind this art of storytelling. Now let's move ahead and see what are the frameworks that you could use when you are creating a content piece for your digital marketing strategies. So the first one that we're going to talk about is triple E model, that is educate, engage, and entice. Now, with every story that you come up with, you would want your audience to be educated with something. It's not just about passing the knowledge; it's also about making them motivated towards certain thing. You saw in Volvo's ad, they did not educate you about, what are the features of say all electric automobile. They rather educated about you a very important phenomena, climate change. Engaging, you want your audience to be engaged throughout the ad, so you want to fill it with good characters, good climax. And finally, when you have educated, when you have engaged, you would want them to entice. Why? Because this is not the first story that you would come up, and this is not going to be your last story. You're going to come up with more and more stories, as your digital marketing campaign spreads and spans across different domains and different channels. So you would want them to be enticed enough to look into. Now, I know for sure that the next time I hear about a cred story or a cred digital ad that's coming across, I'll definitely go and watch it out because they have set the standards. Now, these are certain tips and strategies that I think you should definitely keep in your mind when you are, putting your triple E's together. Remember that your audience is your hero, and also not all the time your hero is going to be, an expert. They could be layman. So make it simple, make it logical, connect the pieces, connect the dots of your story with your audience. Later on, see that that your story has an emotional appeal to it. We always start buying anything with emotions. Later on, we justify it with logical reasoning. So today morning, what happened, I was not hungry, but I was just bored, so I happened to order something from Zomato and Swiggy. Later on, when my mother questioned me about my weight gain and everything, I substantiated that fact with I'm hungry. So we always buy something with emotions. Later on, we bring the practicality in. So your audience is your hero, make an emotional appeal. Also, one important thing that a lot of marketers fail to do, they talk a lot about their product features, they bring a lot of characters into the story. Don't do that. Just bring one story, bring just one gunda into your story, and the world is going to talk about it. Trust me. The last thing is be authentic, be real, be yourself. You don't have to make something interesting. To make something interesting, you don't have to bring superheroes or Batman into the picture. You can keep it real, you can keep it simple, yet interesting. The next framework that we're going to talk about is called the golden circle. So a lot of people, a lot of you attendees must have been, familiar with this famous author and motivator, Simon Sinek. The Golden Circle was basically conceptualized by Simon Sinek, and he kind of, he was dependent on this fact that we always buy with our emotions first. So what he said that, or rather he observed first that a lot of people start with what we do, what I am, what my company does, and then they move towards how we do it. These are the features of my services, my product. And last, a lot of them even miss it, but a few of them even talk about why they are motivated to do that. But what Simon Sinek says is you always start with your whys. You always start with your whys, then you go towards how and what of your process. So basically, act, think, and communicate from the inside out. So this is the approach that Simon Sinek says, and a lot of companies are following this. All the top brands in the world, they follow this approach. So what you're going to do is start with why. What is your purpose? Why have you started with this startup? Why are you marketing this product? What is your motivation behind setting this product out? Then how do you do it? How do you make your service so good that your competitors, everyone is scared about you? Finally, you move towards the what aspect of it. What are the product features? What are your services? Why is Antwox program different from other program? This is the course that you should follow. So these are the two frameworks that I often talk about and I really put emphasis on. There are plethora of frameworks out there, but trust me, all of them are an exaggeration of triple E model and the golden circle. You can put, a lot of things, but that is all just gravy. So these are the two frameworks that I normally would suggest you to follow hard on. And if you are set with this, you're set to come up with a great story. Now let's take another short poll and see that whether you have understood the crux of these frameworks. So Shriram, let's have the second poll in.
Sure. All right.
Okay, so these are two positioning statements. You got to read and tell whether, what kind of computer would you be interested in buying.
Okay, 10 more seconds, guys. All right, let's see the results, Bhavya.
Sure, Shriram. Should I end the poll? Oh, okay, interesting. So 79% are going with the second one, 21% are going with the first one. So interestingly, if many of you must have already guessed, but the second one is the positioning statement used by Apple. What they say is they are here to challenge the status quo. That is their motivation. That is their why. What they do, they offer products that are user friendly, beautifully designed, and then they tell that okay, they happen to make great computers. They never started with the statement that they make great computers, and then they say want to buy one. And we all know what Apple has done to the world by offering such amazing range of products and computers. So these two frameworks that you just learned, triple E model and the golden circle, you can see right here what they did in their positioning statement. Right, this is a brand positioning statement, and the same holds true for your product statement as positioning statements also. Now that we have learned two frameworks, let's move ahead and see how you can grow your brand. So in ISB, in our MBA classes, the first thing that was taught to us was 3 C's in a marketing class. 1 second. Okay. So when we are trying to set a digital marketing strategy, whatever you do in your organization, ultimately what is your ambition? That is to get the magic out, that is to get the revenues out, right? So what you basically end up doing is setting these 3 C's in place: the right content, the right channels, and the right community. Now when you have said, who's your right person, your audience, which channel you are going to use, which time of the day you're going to show your ad. What you need is the right message, right? So we have set these two things in place, and now we need to understand what exactly the message that needs to go out. Now, before you set the message out, you need to understand the problems that your user persona is facing. Now, these problems, as we fondly call in marketing, we call it jobs. So basically, when I buy a product or when you buy a product, we basically buy a product. We don't buy it, we hire it to get a job done, right? I bought, I don't know if you are able to see my screen, but I bought this cup because it gets a job done for me. I want to drink tea, and that is a job that is fulfilled when I bought this tea cup. So before you move ahead with your right message, what you need to understand is what is the right job, what is the right fit that your products need in the market. Then you have the right message in place, when you have the right person, right channel, you will be able to get what we call as magic, that is revenues for your company, right? So we will move ahead and see and learn a very unique model called jobs to be done model. This was ideated by Clayton Christensen. He was a Harvard University professor. And he set this model in place. He said that, like I just described, people don't buy things, they hire things to get a job done. And this model basically functions with two aspects, functional and emotional. You make an emotional appeal through your products, you also talk about its functionality. Now, this is a quote by Henry Ford, which says, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So this is about his era, right? Back then, people were using horses to commute from one place to another. Now, at that time, they didn't know what are cars, what are bikes, or anything. So what they thought, okay, to move from one place to one another location, what I need at best is faster horses. So you need to show your audience the technology or the things that you do differently. That is only when they will be able to realize, what is out there. So they might want faster horses, but you need to show that your automobile is the best fit out there. So let's move ahead and see what are the various aspects of this JTB model and how you can, build a brand message around it. For the sake of simplicity, we will be using Antwox as an example here since we are at it. And Shriram is the wonderful person who has, enabled this amazing session for all of us. So how we start is speak to audience. So if Antwox has to send its brand message out there using JTBD, what they will do, they will speak to its audience. Now, Antwox audience says, I want to learn from industry experts. I want to get live sessions. I'm bored of recorded lessons. I also want something affordable, not something which is so, like 2 lakhs, 1 lakhs, and this goes beyond our budget. At the same time, I want to be job ready. So this is what exactly, Antwox figured by talking to a lot of professionals out there. Further, when they have when you have spoken to your audience, what you need to do is cluster the jobs, right? You put together the jobs together, what kind of problem statements or problems of your audience you want to solve. So Antwox in this case wants to let professionals learn from industry experts, people who are doing things in their job every day, right? Later on, what Antwox does is conduct the live interactive sessions. I think thank you. And the third job that Antwox, wishes to fulfill is offer a high quality education through their e-learning platform for professionals and not compromise on the quality of education. Now, once Antwox has spoken to the audience, it has clustered the jobs. What it will do is set the brand message. Now, what Antwox's message could be experiential learning for professionals. You learn from professionals, so that is your experiential aspect of the program. Affordable education, not that's not heavy on pockets. You know what all programs are offered and they just go in lakhs and lakhs. What Antwox is doing for you is basically offering an affordable education. Finally, be job ready with essential skills. So this is how we see that, what Antwox, how with the help of Antwox example, how you can set your brand message or even product messages out there using JTBD model. Now we'll take another third poll because this is going to be an interesting one, because so far you have learned the science behind storytelling, you have learned the frameworks, you have learned the JTBD model. Let's take a quick poll and we will see what you have learned so far. So Shriram, let's have the third poll in.
Yep, here we go.
Awesome.
Bhavya, in the meanwhile, there are two questions in the chat box. Just have a look at them and you can take it up when you.
Okay, Shriram. For now, I'm sharing the screen and I don't see that interface. Maybe when I'll end up sharing the screen, the comments will pop up.
All right, last few seconds, guys. Got 10 more people who can vote. All right.
Awesome. So we have 70% people tell the truth but make it fascinating. 20% says make the story heavy with insights. You will really gel well with the CEO of my company. And 7% says cut the crap, talk straight to the point. So the right answer to this question is there's no right answer. It depends. So your audience could be someone, you may be ready with your investor pitch and you would want to go and talk to your investors. So that kind of story should be ready, should be, heavy with data. Now you could be talking to a broad audience. That is when you will tell the story and make it fast, tell the truth and make it fascinating. So there's no right or wrong answer in this case. It just depends on how your audience is going to take it. When you are trying to cater to the needs of a wider audience, you need to keep all those factors in mind before putting your story and the frameworks in mind. Okay, Shriram, I'll stop sharing this poll and I'll move to the next segment. So now that we have learned the science, the principles of storytelling, the frameworks, let's see what you could do to make your content marketing funnel interesting and rewarding. So the first part is tofu. That is where you kind of drive traffic, you build brand awareness. And these are the contents that you could share, and basically the thought leadership content. This is a stage where you want to educate your audience. You want them to be, educated. This is the stage where you don't talk about your products at all. This is where you send how to guides, ebooks, infographics, industry studies as well, to enable them, to educate them. Later, when you move to middle of the funnel, that is, where exactly you try to bring leads, you drive them towards consideration phase. There you bring product overviews into the picture. You talk about the videos, product features. You also bring case studies and competitor story, because here people will be comparing you with 10 different companies, right? So you kind of bring these contents into in the consideration phase. Later on, when you want your audience to make payments, you are there to get the final action done. This is where you kind of bring the success stories, battle cards, to enable them and to see that what values your product or your company brings in. So this is exactly not framework, sorry. These are the contents that you can follow to bring an effective content marketing funnel. This holds true for both B2C and B2B. There's no fixed set of categories or divisions here. So you can keep this in your mind. You can keep this while deciding or building content for your company or for the company that you work for. And moving ahead, we will see what are the different kind of stories that's out there. So brand stories, that is purpose driven. So there's a company called Strawberry Frog. You should go and look out for their content. They have built content for the top global companies in the world. For Mahindra, they came up with this rise campaign. For PNG, they came up with this future friendly campaign. Now when I see brand stories here, you will not see PNG talking about their products, but they set out a message that they are future friendly. Mahindra also doesn't talk about its cars or tractors, but rather they talk about something else. So this is purpose driven movement, as we call it. This is where exactly you want the people to be, motivated by your brand, not what your brand does, but your brand's ideology. Moving ahead, you have product stories categories. Here, don't confuse it with product data sheets. There you talk about descriptions, but we're talking about product stories. So Drift is a company that offers a chat platform where you can directly send emails in real time. So this is what they say. Imagine email that's real time. Here, one of their valuable customers is telling, I just signed a new Fortune 100 company that's does this. So you can build product stories not just by talking about description. You can also make your customers talk about it in their social media platform. That is how your products USPs, unique selling points, can go across different channels. Next is customer stories. This is something that you all must be familiar with. You need to come up with customer testimonials, the stories, what your customer was able to do. Ultimately, what we try to do here is make the customers our hero. Every story, every customer story, your main point should not be to call yourself a hero, but to call your customers heroes. Later, employee stories. So this is something that is not going to drive leads towards you, right? But this is something that will drive a very beautiful culture in your companies as well, because this is how you are going to portray yourself as a company. You also need to set your brand out there for good, as a good recruiter. So these are the employee stories that you can come up with. And finally, these are the metrics that you should keep in mind. Normally, we pay attention to the macro metrics, signups, MQLs, marketing qualified leads, sale qualified leads, customers, and opportunities. But across channels, these are the micro metrics that you should keep in your mind, because when you are setting the right SEO strategy, or you are running a LinkedIn campaign or emailers or email campaign, you're setting new landing pages for your website, or your content marketer is setting a new blog or coming up with a new blog. These are the metrics that you should keep in mind. Now, this is not an exhaustive, this is a very small part of the big list of things that you can do. But for the sake of, the space and time that we have, I've kept it to bare minimum. Okay, so these are the metrics. And finally, a lot of people, a lot of today's attendees have reached out to me on LinkedIn to understand what exactly I do as a product marketer, and whether they should be content marketers or growth marketers. So when you are setting your foot on digital marketing domain, there are different things that you can do. So don't confuse one thing with the other. When you have learned the tools, when you have learned, SEO optimization tools, when you have learned Google Analytics, Facebook Analytics, you're setting yourself right on the path of a growth marketer. But then you need content marketers, you need product marketers who own your products, who are the subject matter experts of a product category. When all of these are combined, that is when you make the right digital marketing strategy for your company, and also for for any channel or any platform out there. So basically, content marketers come up with thought leadership content, product marketers come up with product contents, and growth marketers take these content, use the right tools, and set it out, using different campaigns. So this is all about it, guys. We have covered the science behind storytelling, frameworks, JTBD model, the various metrics on content that you should set out there. And while we are at the end of the session, these are the 5 neuromarketing books that I really recommend you should, read if you want to understand the psychology of, a customer who is going to be, psychology of your leads who is going to become your customers later. Smart persuasion, hook, nudge, clickology, oversubscribe. So these are my 5 recommendations that you should take from this session. And yes, so Shriram, I'm kind of done with the important aspect, and I'll hand over the stage to you.
Thank you so much, Bhavya. Uh, Fantastic session. In fact, I loved the Volvo ad, and in fact, right till the end, I was not sure where they're going with this, and I think they kind of hit the nail on the head with their last, ending part of the ad. So really impressive stuff. How we can do a very effective storytelling. Thanks for that. Uh, I think, guys, just to take a step back, right? I mean, what we have done at Antwox is try and bring experts like Bhavya and other folks from all across different companies, whether it's a B2C company or a B2B company, whether uh, bring them on our platform so that we can
ये मास्क पहन के जाओ
sorry about that, guys. So the idea is, bring professionals who are practicing doing this stuff day in and day out, and come and share their learnings to folks who want to make a career out of digital marketing, right? We also believe that the learning is not just from a self-recorded kind of a content. It has to be live. It has to be an immersive kind of a environment where people can, connect with each other, talk with each other, resolve their doubts, which we'll do at the end of the session with the Q&A as well. And last but not the least, learn by doing, right? How do we use, like, for example, Bhavya talked about the 2 frameworks, the Triple E framework and the jobs to be done framework. How do we actually get, try some of these frameworks in our real world, problems? So with that philosophy, what we have done is we have launched a 16-week program at Antwox, especially for folks who are, either graduates who want to look at digital marketing as a career, or even entry-level digital marketers who have acquired uh, some skill in the last couple of years, but now they want to build on that and become much better digital marketing practitioners, right? Bhavya, if you don't mind, can you switch to the next slide? So what we are doing is this program will be completely run by industry leaders working at companies like Amazon, Google, Unilever, JioSaavn, uh, Disney Hotstar. They are the ones who are going to come and talk to you. It's not like any trainer who's not been in the industry for the last 10 years going to teach you. These are real working professionals who are going to come and teach you the nitty-gritties involved in digital marketing, right? It's a 16-week program, more than 100 hours of live classes. You will get your hands dirty with 10 plus real world projects. At the end of the program, for people who are interested, we will definitely offer 100% placement assistance program as well. You will get your hands dirty through these projects on the latest tools which are being used by some of these experts. They will teach you how to use it, and you will have to use them and submit your projects. So if you guys are interested, if you like what Bhavya had to share today, that's the kind of content we will be having on every class, every hour of the live classes over the 16 weeks program. Please feel free to sign up today. There's a link on the slide here. I will put it up on the chat box as soon as I finish this. And one of our education counselors will talk to you, give you more details, and we can get you onboarded. The batch starts in first week of June. We will have our orientation next weekend. So if you're interested, if you want to get serious about digital marketing, do check our program out. Yeah, cool. Thanks. With that, let's switch to the Q&A part of the session. I think, Bhavya, we have two questions already. I think three questions right now. Sharath is asking, how much importance do we need to give to tools in digital marketing and how much to strategy?
How much to strategy? See, Sharath, it's a very interesting question, and I think a lot of people, they put a lot of emphasis on learning tools, or there are certain sect of people they learn about strategies. What I see is they go hand in hand. You can have a great story, but if you're not putting your right tools into play, if you're, if you don't have the right SEO skills, if you're not using a right search engine, right email marketing engine, your story is not going to reach across to the audience, right? So you need the right set of tools. You need the knowledge of different marketing tools that's out there. That is why digital experience, digital marketing program by Antwox, and that is so important because it helps you learn the tools as well as strategies. Now, talking about the weightage that you give, you start with your strategy, you start with your objective, and then you see where exactly what kind of tools fit into the picture. And when everything is set, then you come down to the messaging part of it. So that is my answer to your question, Sharath. And if you want to know more, you can definitely send me a mail and we can discuss it further.
Perfect. Bhumi is asking, how can we implement storytelling as a strategy to attract both buyers and sellers?
Both buyers and sellers. Buyers, of course, like we discussed different frameworks. I think this question must have come in the initial, Shriram, in the initial part of the session. We discussed, Bhumi, a lot of frameworks. These frameworks, of course, are designed to suit the purpose of every audience. When I say every audience, that could be a seller, that could be a buyer. When it's a buyer, you need to understand the problem statements or the jobs that they want to fulfill. And that is where you set your messaging and your characters. Your characters of your story should definitely appeal to your buyer. Now, when you're talking about sellers, sellers as in you could be a seller, you could be a seller as in it's your company. I don't get by the word seller what you mean, but I'm assuming here that seller you would mean setting your brand stories. So you can come up with industry stories, you can come up with competitor stories. When you are a seller, you would want yourself to be compared with other sellers, right? So that is where you will bring the competitive angle. So Freshdesk, even before Freshdesk became famous, there was Zendesk. And what happened when Freshdesk became so famous, Zendesk came up with the statement, the CEO of Zendesk, that Freshdesk has basically copied our model. They are not leaders. What Freshdesk did is came up with a landing page, and there the heading was how unique we are as compared to Zendesk. So you're going to leverage on all these things and come up with competitive stories, industry stories to set, to enable your in the sellers.
So I think Bhumi's follow-up is that, I mean, if a startup is working as an intermediate between both the seller and the buyer, how can we attract both of them?
seller and buyer intermediate. I think in that case, of course, we saw that marketing funnel that was very customer oriented. So customers angle is set from there. From the seller point of view, Bhumi, I will have to discuss with you further this question. We will elaborate and see what you're bringing. So as a startup, let's take the example of Antwox. Antwox has got, experts coming into its platform and offering something. At the same time, Antwox is offering these programs to professionals. So for an expert like me, why Antwox is unique? Because it helps me enable my personal branding, right? So how Antwox reached out to me is through, how I can become, or how I can set my personal branding into this picture. I don't have to start a company to create my own personal brand. So this is how Antwox, leveraged this model, beautiful model. Why I'm using Antwox here as an example? Because it fits the picture or the question that you're asking: sellers and buyers, professionals who are also offering services as experts. So you need to understand what you give to your sellers, the key takeaways that will your sellers will take from your startup. And basis that, you can build your stories.
Got it. That's a very interesting analogy to use to explain the concept here.
Yes,
Thank you for
I'm
that.
bringing everything back to your startup here.
Viru is asking how to tell a story within 60 seconds for Facebook or Instagram ads and retargeting. What type of videos and methods we can use?
Okay. So I would first of all tell you that when you're starting with the story, never set a fixed time frame. That's not how we go it. And even on top of that, 60 seconds is too way long. The maximum attention span of any viewer these days is not more than 20-25 seconds. So even if that is your benchmark that you have set, I would say that, different methods that you can use is, first of all, try to understand your audience's needs. I cannot emphasize more and more about this. You need to understand what is the job they're trying to solve. Then you use your technology, your thinking, your brand's positioning and everything to use that 20 seconds. Spread it across, like we discussed the long-term memory encoding, if you remember. You need to spend maximum time of your video, of your story. That could be a video, that could be a long form, context, or an email also. You need to spend the maximum time of your story not talking about your product features, not talking about your brand, but rather the story. When the story has become exciting enough in your in your storyline, that is when you introduce your brand. This is something that I would recommend.
Got it. Bhavya, just one request. If you just move back to the slide on the books, I think there's a question on people want to just note down the name of those books, and then we can take the next question. Ankush is asking, I am a content writer. What more skills I need to acquire to become a content marketer?
Okay. It's a very good question. Like you're telling that you're a content writer, I presume that you must be writing good content. You are good with your English. Those are the prerequisites. Why I'm telling English here? Because I'm assuming that you would be offering to an audience who would understand English. You can come up with your Hindi content, your regional messages also. That's needless to say. But when you're writing content and you need the skill sets, right? I think these neuromarketing books, it's a perfect slide to be here. When you will learn. So let's take the example of Hooked or Nudge here, or even the Smart Persuasion. I have read these three books, not read the other two. You try to understand your customers, what do we say, thought process. Now, if you remember, we did this poll that, what kind of three stories you can come up with, or three contents that you can write. A lot of people said, tell the story, make it fascinating. But my manager in my company, she is a hardcore believer of go directly to the facts. You talk about the facts, because she comes from a B2B industry. People, CEOs, CIOs, CISOs, they don't have a lot of time to read about your stories. As a matter of fact, they would only have a few minutes, to read or go through your content. So take that into consideration. Think about your persona. Think, how much time they can devote. If you're catering to the needs of someone who is a millennial, they can spend as much as 30 seconds, 1 minute, even 2 minutes in your content. So plan your content's timing accordingly. Now that is an essential skill to learn. Is basic what one essential skill is here to learn is understanding your customer psychology. uh, go read these books, try to see, what kind of questionnaires you can come up with, so that if you send that questionnaire to your audience, you will see a lot of, things coming out of it. So as a content marketer, do a lot of pilots, work with your A/B testing. Put one content that has, say, some things, put other content as a B category, send it out to your audience and see how A/B testing is working. That way you can understand, what is the sentiment that your audience relate to.
Got it. Got it. Uh, Last couple of questions. Simran has a question. Do we have a specific internship available for storytelling and CEO, SEO? And if yes, could you please guide us how we can try for such internships?
So SEO, Simran, definitely there are a lot of companies, I think even Antwox would want it later at a later stage as it expands. And
Mhm.
so SEOs, of course, but for storytelling specifically, I don't know how many people would, be interested, but I'll recommend something to you. That is, go and follow this amazing storyteller from Wipro called Bianca. Why I'm telling you about Bianca is because if you look into her career trajectory, you will understand how she started. So she was hired by the CMO of Wipro because he happened to see a very interesting story once she had put in Twitter or somewhere. Now the CMO saw that story. He was so excited with, her thought process, that he hired her as the chief storyteller for Wipro. So if you want to flourish as a storyteller, you need to put yourself out there. And that is exactly what I was going to come at the end of the session. You need to go out, create your own personal brands on LinkedIn. You need to talk about, what you learned in this session, because you need to set the stage there. You need to tell to the world that, hey, I'm interested in storytelling and this is what I learned from this session. So this is, you need to go out, talk about these books, what you learned from these books, what you learned in this session. Do that. Put hashtag storytelling. Make yourself visible out there. That is how you will catch the attention of, the right folks who are ready to hire. First thing. But for SEOs, and of course, you should follow, Antwox job. I think there's Antwox digital marketing board that you can
Yes,
follow, and you will be updated about, a lot of jobs out there when it comes to SEO and content writing. So do follow that job board, and I think you will be, and you'll get to know everything on time.
what was the name that you mentioned, Bhavya, of the person
Uh,
to follow?
yes, she's Bianca Ghosh. I have had the opportunity to interact with her 2 weeks back. She kind of trained me in storytelling, as in she tells me what are the best practices she use. You can definitely, follow her on LinkedIn. Go and see what kind of story she comes up for Wipro, and that's gonna be remarkable. And also you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I can help you understand different frameworks of storytelling, so on and so forth.
Perfect. Yeah. Last question we have so far is, um, apart from the books you mentioned, which all resources we can use to learn the art of storytelling?
Mhm.
I think you addressed this a little bit already.
Yes, Shriram. I think, see, these neuromarketing books will help you understand the customer psychology. But like you, I would recommend go to TEDx, go to YouTube, okay, and follow Simon Sinek, follow Clayton Christensen. Is very difficult name to remember, but Clayton Christensen, he was a Harvard professor. He came up with JTBD models. Go to YouTube and you can search and type storytelling, and a lot of frameworks would come. And apart from that, I think in next few weeks, even Antwox is going to come up with a handbook on, different storytelling formats that you can use and different things. Keep subscribe to it. Keep a tab on your emails. You will definitely get a handbook on email storytelling that you can definitely leverage in your next, digital marketing stints.
Definitely. And the other source I would like to mention is there is a lot of free content on Antwox as well. Experts such as similar to Bhavya. I still have to get Bhavya on that recorded content. But we have folks from all over the, like I said, different companies, whether it's Netflix or Amazon, people who are in content, brand management, they have contributed completely free about 60 minutes of free content from each of them. So do check us out on antwox.com. If you go to the browse button, you'll be able to see a lot of free courses as well. So take a look at that. I'm sure it will help you out.
Definitely. Okay.
Cool. I think that's about it. Bhavya, once again, thank you so much. I know it's a Friday evening. I'm glad that you were able to make out time for our audience. There were a lot of interesting things to be learned today, and it was a very engaging session. And I think we should have you back every now and then, at least once a month going forward. Uh, and folks on the call, again, thanks a lot for taking out time. Please give a applause to Bhavya for for taking a wonderful session for us. Put a hands up or a clap on the chat window. And also, if you guys are really interested about the program we talked about, please check us out. Click on the link, give us the details, and we will get in touch with you. Yeah. And that's a wrap. Thanks again. And we have another very interesting session coming in tomorrow from Deepa Sridas, who heads the content marketing at Netflix. And she will be talking on how content marketing has evolved and how people should leverage on the different formats of content. So if you guys are interested in that, please make sure you check out our events on Antwox homepage and sign up for that as well. See you so soon again. All right,
And
guys. Take care. Thanks, Bhavya.
thanks, Shriram. Just one more thing to add to what Shriram already mentioned. Guys, do post what you have learned in this session. Do add the screenshots if you have. Even if you don't have, just one key takeaway. Tag me, tag Antwalk. That way, people will get to know about these wonderful sessions and also about what you have learned. So see ya. Thanks for joining, and thanks, Shriram, for having me.
My pleasure. Yeah. Thank you. Take care, guys.
Thank you.